Okay, welcome back. This is practice 1.2, journal page 10, and we are reviewing how to add integers this morning. So remember that we started doing integer chips and number lines, and then we came up with a pattern which we're calling SADS. And what SADS stands for is that these two first letters are together. If you have the same sign, you're going to add your integers together, and then you'll keep their common sign. So what that means is if you're adding two positives, your total answer is even more positive. And if you're adding two negative integers, your answer is that much total negative. When we have the addition of different signs subtract, or you can think of different and difference. But we subtract their absolute value when we are adding different signs because we end up getting zero pairs. Or if you recall on the number line, you're going in the positive direction and then going in the negative direction, or you're going in the negative direction and then coming back to the positive direction, and then getting your answer. So it's the sign with the most that wins. If you have more positives when you're adding them, your answer will be positive. If you have more negatives, your answer will be negative. Okay, and then we have some practice problems here. Looking at number 1, we have negative 9 plus 2. Well, the difference of their absolute value is 7, and I have more negatives, so my answer is negative 7. For number 2, we have 5 plus negative 5. 5 and negative 5 are a zero pair, so that just equals 0. And then in number 3, we have the same sign as we have negative 12 plus negative 6. That's altogether negative 18. We don't have any zero pairs there. We just have more negative. In questions 4, 5, and 6, we have 3 numbers that we're combining. Remember that we can use the associative property of equality, or associative property. And what that tells us is that because we have addition, we can group numbers in any order. So I don't have to necessarily go left to right. If I see something else that's more convenient for me, I can combine and add in any way I want to. So I notice that I have one negative number and two positive numbers. I'm going to combine my positives together so that I can see how many negatives and how many positives I have. So I have negative 10 plus 24. That's a plus sign. And then take their difference. So I know my answer is going to be positive, and I have 14 more positive. 10 negatives and 10 positives will cancel out. So our answer is 14. For number 5, I have 2 negative numbers, so I'm going to combine them first for a total of negative 31 plus 9, and then take their difference, 22. And this time our answer is negative because we had more negative. In number 6, I have negative 7 plus 7. I can already see that those are a zero pair. So I'm going to cross them out because they're a zero pair, and then I can just bring down my negative 8. For questions 7, 8, and 9, we have use mental math to solve the equation. So looking at number 7, we have x plus negative 5 equals 4. So if we're thinking about that, we need a large positive number here to add to this negative 5 to still get a positive 4 answer. The easiest way to do this is to use some equation work that you might recall from last year. If you have x plus negative 5 and you want to get x by itself, you want to add the opposite here to get a zero pair so that we can get x by itself. Well, what is the opposite of negative 5? That would be to add positive 5. And the other part of keeping this equation equal is that whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. So we're going to have our plus 5 shown on both sides. Use an arrow to line up that equal sign. Okay, over to the left, negative 5 and 5 are a zero pair. We cross them out, and we have x equals 4 plus 5, which is 9. So we have x equals 9, and then we can check it. You can substitute 9 for x. 9 plus negative 5, does that equal 4? Well, yes, it does. 9 plus -5 is 4, so we know we're correct. We could even give ourselves a check mark on that one. Okay, number 8, the additive inverse of a -6 plus 6 is a -6. So we're going to subtract 6 on both sides or add -6. Here we have our zero pair. So we get y equals -2 plus -6. That's altogether -8. Again, same sides add, keep the sign. And then in number 9, they have our variable on the end here, the z. So we are seeing what's happening to z to get z by itself. It's being added to -7, so the opposite would be to add 7. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. Lining up that equal sign. Our negative and 7 is our zero pair. We can actually make a 0 on there if we want to. And we get z by itself. And then -10 plus 3, well, that's -3. Okay, that's just some calculation work. Our goal is to add integers and then also solve related problems. So that's what we have here on the bottom of our page here. Question number 10, the table shows the change in your hair length over a year. So we're talking about how it's changing, not its actual length. And the units are inches. So looking at January, we have a +2. So we're going to take that as a growth of 2 inches. So we'll put +2. In February, it looks like we got a haircut because it says -1, but we had a growth of 2. So if we are only chopping off 1 inch, we're still in the plus by 1. We don't know what our starting amount is of our hair length. So we don't know our starting amount. August, +3, that means it grew 3 inches. So if you already had a +1, +3 more, you're at +4. In September, you chop off 4 inches, so we're at 0. Again, that doesn't mean you have no hair length. It means that your change is the same as your hair length as before. There's really no change from what you started off with before January. And then in December, +3, that means a growth of 3. Okay, I want you to pause this video for a moment and try to see, based on what we just did up there, if you can answer questions A, B, and C. And then once you're done, unpause and we'll check it together. Okay, A, what is the total change in your hair length at the end of the year? Well, here's our end of the year. Our change is a growth, okay, because it's in the plus of 3, and then our units, inches. Is your hair longer in January or December? Explain your reasoning. Well, if we're looking at our chart, January was a +2 and December was a +3. So we're going to say December. And to explain, we're going to say that it is 1 inch longer. Okay, C, when is your hair the longest? Explain your reasoning. Well, again, if we look at our chart up here, we have a +4 in August. The change was +4 inches. Okay, take notes, make any corrections.